What's up guys, Zach here with devlog number 8 for Knights of the Forgotten Realm. This time we'll be focusing in on what I believe makes a good tutorial, what is ineffective, and what I decided to do for my game. So without further delay, let's go ahead and dive right in. Alrighty, so what makes a good tutorial? Well, personally, I learn by doing. For me, a good tutorial immerses me within the story, and the introduction of the game piecemeals me new mechanics as they're needed. A good example of this is Metro Exodus, which just so happens to be a game that I'm currently playing. You start out by walking around, you learn how to shoot, how to put your gas mask on, how to wipe your gas mask when needed, learn how to stealth, you discover the crafting system, etc., all through the game's introduction. At no point does it feel intrusive or forced too, it just flows naturally without a lot of interface widgets all over your screen. With Knight of the Forgotten Realm, that latter point is why I decided to redo the introduction of the game entirely, starting with what you all saw in Devlog 7 with the Forbidden Forest extension. There was just too much text to read, and to most players that is overwhelming. More on how I fixed it though in a bit. What makes a bad tutorial though in my view, and I touched on it already, it's the intrusive widgets or forced actions. A great example of what not to do, at least in a AAA setting, is Amazon Games' New World. At the beginning of it, you're forced to go through a quick time event which leads to more forced actions and a final boss fight, and really at no point do you feel like you have full control, as your actions are somewhat limited throughout. There's a little bit of freedom in the middle, but it's not a whole lot because there's a lot of interface prompts or invisible walls. I mean, combat-wise, you do get full control after the first quick time events are over, but then it pops up with even more interface widgets to teach you about the skill system. While this isn't the worst offender I've seen, it did make me roll my eyes a bit, especially because the 200 or so thousand people who played the game concurrently likely have played an MMO once or twice. You need to read your audience, what's really needed for them, and then make your game design decisions based upon that. You can't just expect everyone to be new to gaming in general. Speaking of treating your players like they've never played a game before, what makes me roll my eyes into the back of my skull is mobile game tutorials. You know what I'm talking about, where the game forces you to do many actions across the hour or two, even making you go through the cash shop to buy an item for free, just so you know that the cash shop is there, and what do you know? There's 900% off sales. How does that happen? Who knows? But wow, you are so lucky to be there right now. You better swipe, swipe, swipe. After an hour or two, you finally get control and can actually play the game by yourself without any forced actions. To me, New World is just an offender, not a huge offender, but an offender, while a lot of mobile games are textbook definitions of what a bad tutorial is. So what did I do for my game? Well, after working on my 2 opening cinematics a bit, I realized that the first 3 minutes of the game will be front-loaded with a fair bit of storytelling and no interactive gameplay. Then I originally was going to have more story exposition after that. So in order to break things up and ensure the player has a bit of interactive gameplay before the more forced story exposition occurs, I decided to throw in a flashback sequence. This flashback sequence will act as a hybrid storytelling device. While the player will be able to interact, more backstory on Vali and his mentor Matthias will be provided. Matthias, as your mentor, will prep you for your inevitable call to the eyes of humanity. Through this tutorial, you'll perform light attacks, heavy attacks, dodging, and blocking, core fundamentals of the game's combat system. The only widgets will be prompts to inform you on how to perform said actions, for example, press left click to light attack, and some notes discussing things like stamina consumption and regeneration. Where my old tutorial was paragraphs, my new one is a sentence or two per action, much easier to digest. My new tutorial also succeeds in the immersion department. One of the key things that I've tried to do with Knight of the Forgotten Realm is ensure that everything is as logical as possible and fits into the world. Having a ton of paragraphs on the screen breaks that immersion, where having a flashback sequence to a prior event allows me room for more character developments, especially for a character like Matthias that, if I'm able to make another game, will show up in my future titles. He's important, and it also just accomplishes the goal of a tutorial as well.
I've seen many young kids like yourself die in my lifetime, some of which I taught. The weight of their deaths sometimes keeps me up at Night Valley. Seeing you still alive, though, makes it all worth it.
Matthias, I never knew.
This type of mentality is going to carry over into the soul enhancement attribute screen as well. While I won't have those tutorials finalized until Alpha 3, as the entire UI overhaul is the goal of that alpha, it is on my radar to do. Until then, those paragraphs will be reduced and summarized in a more concise way. In the end, I think most who will play Knight of the Forgotten Realm will understand what a skill and attribute page is, where a typical mobile game will treat you like your IQ is 0 during the first hour or two. Knight of the Forgotten Realm will treat you like a friend that's just getting into a hobby for the first time. I know you have a brain and can critically think, and so my goal is to provide you with concise information in the most immersive way possible, but to not force many actions or overload you with a ton of text. There are games where that is necessary, don't get me wrong, like grand strategy games like Civilization, 100% necessary, but not a side-scroller action-adventure RPG like my game. It's just too much. I hope you enjoyed a look at the flashback sequence and my thoughts on tutorials in general. What makes a good tutorial in your opinion? Be sure to leave your thoughts down below. That said, Alpha 2 is very close, so be sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos such as that release dates video for Alpha 2. As always, my name is Zach, and I'll catch you all next time.